Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Captioning with Adobe Premiere Pro. My name is Nat Penserapon. I'm the Audio Video Media Manager here at the Otto G. Richter Library at the University of Miami's. I work for our Digital Initiatives Department, but this semester I'm also working a little bit with Creative Studios. Today I'll be covering just the basics of captions along with the benefits before I delve into Adobe Premiere Pro's newest speech-to-text feature. Afterwards, I'll talk a little bit about how to get better captions moving forwards when filming or recording oral histories and the like. Again, I'm not going to go in depth into Adobe Premiere, but if you're a student, staff, or faculty member, we have access to Linkin Learning, which is formerly lynda.com, and it has a ton of videos on Adobe Premiere Pro and any type of software in the Adobe Creative Suite. Other were available since the early days of silent film. Here's an actual example from the film Lost World from 1925. These weren't specifically made for the hard of hearing, but it did kick off the development into captioning. In the early 70s, there was a more concentrated and technical focus on adding captions to films as well as news broadcast. For instance, in 1973, the captioned ABC News featured captions 5 hours after the news initially aired. So a lot of work still needed to be done for live captioning to be available. In the early 80s, technology was advanced enough to provide live captioning to live broadcast, but it usually required boxes like the one in the upper right-hand corner, and it usually costs more than TV itself. But beginning in the 1990s, legislation came about that required TVs to have the built-in capability to provide these captions without purchasing a separate device. And that leads us today in social media. You notice TikTok and Instagram stories have live captions now. And a majority of our streaming services like Netflix and Hulu provide captioning as well. So what's the difference between captions and subtitles? Although they're often used interchangeably and in some regions are considered the same, the key differences are sound and language. Captions are a text form of audio information in video and animations. Includes words that are spoken, who's speaking when it's not evident. So if a narrator speaking, you can signify that there's a narrator speaking. Important sounds like music, like the mood of the music, laughter, and noises. Subtitles, on the other hand, usually just display words that are captured in another language. For instance, the latest movie, I forgot, but foreign films usually have subtitles in English. And what's the difference between open and closed captions? Open captions are always on and can't be turned off. They're essentially burned into the film. If you're ever in line at a theme park, for instance, oftentimes like the safety video will have the words burnt into the screen so it can't be turned off. Closed captions, on the other hand, can be turned off with a click of a button on a remote control, or usually they're on the player itself. There's a CC, which you can turn on and off. There are some benefits of captions. Individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing can make better use of videos if we provide captions. According to the World Health Organization, around 466 million people have some sort of disabling hearing loss. People with cognitive or learning disabilities can also make better use of captions to better focus on videos and retain information. Another major benefit of having captions is to help people who are less fluent in English. For instance, we have a large Chinese student population here, and oftentimes tutorial videos in English can help them either learn the phrases or technical terms, or if they can't really catch up to the speaking speech of a professor, it can help it slow it down a little bit. These caption files can be indexed by search engines, making it so much easier to dig through hours upon hours of videos. And last but not least, captions are known to drive engagement with videos. Okay, so now I'm going to try to seamlessly transition from this presentation into Adobe Premiere, so just stand by for a second. Okay, so now I am... Are you seeing Adobe Premiere on your screen?
Yes.
You are? Okay.
Yes.
I'm not, but let's see if I can do this. Okay, so I have a video here, and I'm going to show you a live example of how we can get transcription. Again, I'm not going through the in-depth part of Adobe Premiere Pro, but I have a video here loaded. It's just about a minute and 30-second clip, and I have an option here to create transcriptions. But let me play the video first so you can... It's a video from our War Mamas oral history collection.
My husband is fascinated by history and by his family history. So he studied a lot, he understood a lot. Then you step that into our family. We have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls, and we homeschooled, and our way of teaching was through immersion.
Okay, so that's a simple video on one person speaking. So I'm going to click on Create Transcription. And what this does now, it uploads the audio file into the cloud, and Adobe's AI called Sensei will analyze it and transcribe it for you. A 1-hour video usually takes about 30 minutes. Like a simple clip like this takes less than a minute to process. So keep that in mind. So you all have to be online for this to work, of course. So if you're on a laptop somewhere using Wi-Fi, you might want to wait until you're in a desktop computer. So this example I'm giving is just a simple one person speaking, but if multiple individuals are speaking, it can differentiate between the 2 speakers. So we can have transcripts showing like the interviewer and the interviewee. Okay, so you see on the left-hand side here, this is the transcript essentially of the video. And now I can create captions. And what this does, it imprints the transcript onto the video. And that takes a few seconds. So now I'm gonna skip the intro, and now we can follow along with the words and her speaking at the same time.
My husband is fascinated by history and by his family history. So he studied a lot, he understood a lot. Then you step that into our family. We have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls, and we homeschooled, and our way of teaching was through immersion-based teaching. So if we were going to study World War II, we immersed in World War II.
Okay, so that's pretty accurate. Occasionally there'll be like names and phrases that are misspelled, or like I guess a proper vernacular for World War II would be have the capital II as well. So we have to go in and edit a few things here and there. Especially for a video like this, it's pretty easy for Adobe to pick up the voices. But I'm going to show you another example of a video that we recently transcribed. I thought I had to, so let me transcribe this sequence here. This video, on the other hand, has background noise. You'll notice there's a crowd at a baseball game, there's a rocket launching from Cape Canaveral, and there's loud music being played in the background. And some of it is overpowering the narrator himself speaking. So Adobe has some issues transcribing this. Apologies, I thought this already transcribed. So essentially, this is great for basic oral histories where there's just one person speaking, there's no music, no sound effects in the background. There are ways to use Adobe Audition to lighten the background noise, but that's a little complicated for our use here in the library. So again, we have a transcription of the video, and we're going to create captions. And I want you to notice when the phrases aren't picked up.
You're invited to join us as we turn back the calendar a quarter of a century, back to the year 1958. Dwight D. Eisenhower was serving his second term as President of the United States.
As you can see, the whole entire term, Dwight D. David Eisenhower, wasn't picked up at all because of the music in the background.
Dwight D. Eisenhower was serving his second term as President of the United States. Charles de Gaulle had been named the new Premier of France, and the Brussels World's Fair was attracting visitors from all over the world. At Cape Canaveral, Florida, the U.S. sent its first satellite into orbit.
And as you can see, that rocket launch completely covered over the fact that the narrator was speaking.
Canaveral, Florida, the U.S. sent its first satellite into orbit. The film version of South Pacific had a glittering New York opening. And in sports, Althea Gibson won the Women's Singles Championship at Wimbledon, and the New York Yankees beat Milwaukee in the World Series.
And of course, that's completely wrong. Talking about the New York Yankees, and half the sentence was completely cut off. So that's going to require us to go back into the video and edit all these captions on the left-hand side. So those were the examples I have. So let me switch back to the presentation. Do I have any questions right now?
Yeah, actually, could you get back to how you got to the transcription menu? Like
Yeah. Let's see. Sorry. Let me go back to Premiere Pro.
Sorry.
No problem. That's a very great question. I wasn't going in depth, but there is under Windows there is a text option, and that will pop up this window, this panel right here. And let me just start new. Actually, let's see. Harold Wong. Well, wait, I already captioned this one. Okay, but essentially, if you have window and text open, you'll have an option here to transcribe sequence. Let me see. Sorry, that's a bad example. Let me try something I don't have. Okay, I'm sorry. I have captions for every one of these videos. But essentially, there's an option here to create the captions. And from there, you can upload it to the cloud and it'll transcribe it for you.
So when you have a video uploaded, you click on window text so that it can. Got it.
Yes.
Got it. Thanks.
No problem. I wish I had an example ready for you, but unfortunately, I don't right at this time. Okay, let me share my presentation again. Okay, and we're back. So there's a few things that you need to know before working on these transcriptions. One, you'll need to be online in order to upload your content into the cloud for Adobe to begin transcribing your video. Two, the speech-to-text feature is currently only available to Adobe Premiere Pro users. It won't work on Premiere Elements or Premiere Rush at this time. Three, the translations services aren't currently available. Adobe can caption in 13 different languages. It just can't translate them, at least not yet. There are several factors for successful captioning. The quality of the audio being recorded is a big one. If your mic's set up properly and you're in a quiet environment, it's easier for Adobe to transcribe the voices. Like the first example, it's just one person speaking. she was mic'd up properly, so Adobe can easily transcribe her voice. The other video, which was narrated, had background music, rocket launches, a baseball stadium, so it couldn't pick up what the narrator was saying. If two or more people are talking over another, like in a political debate, it's difficult for the AI to know who's saying what. I've seen words combined from two different people in the same sentence. The speech rate is also a factor. If the person's enunciating every word they say, the easier for the AI to transcribe it. If you're speaking really, really, really fast, it has a really hard time. Accents and speech impediments may also be an issue. Another issue is names and often dates have some issues, and technical terms. Any medical terminology might have an issue with the AI. And here are some further resources about captioning that I can send to you at the end of this meeting. There's certain standards that are used for captionings that we need to consider for our own oral histories, like stuttering and stuff. We need to figure out, sort of mainstream our process in, do we type in the stuttering during these captions or not? Do we make note of silence? We're currently working on like procedures for that for our department. Are there any questions at this time?
Nope.
Okay.
I do have a question,
Yes.
actually.
Mhm.
So will Adobe Premiere distinguish between multiple speakers and label them like speaker 1, speaker 2?
Yes, it does. Unfortunately, it's not the most accurate thing that I've seen, and the words won't pop up in the captions, but it will pop up in the transcriptions. Like, so a transcription is basically just a text file that we can upload alongside a video. That's just like one PDF of every single word that's spoken, and it can differentiate between who's speaking. So you can have interviewer and interviewee, and interviewee 2, and so forth. It won't appear in the captions, of course, and that's an issue that might come into play at sometimes.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, if there's no other questions, thank you for joining me this afternoon. I'm gonna have these slides available and a link to this video presentation if you'd like to watch it at a later time. All right, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.